And welcome, everybody. Good to have you with us. We are live worldwide. This is the Jim Masters Show Live, entertainment lifestyle talk show series that we created 13 weeks ago. 5, 10, 1, 2, 3. 13 weeks ago, as again, you guys have been watching and following and sharing and letting everybody know about this fun place for light, love, and levity. And as we call it, Lovity. That's what it's all about. A couple of weeks ago, we created that word accidentally when I was trying to say love and levity together, and just spit out lovity, and everybody fell in love with lovity. So we've been using that word, and I think it matches the feel and the vibe, positive, inspiring vibe of this talk show series. Great to have you with us from all around the world. We had a really fun pop-up show over on YouTube yesterday. We did an exclusive promotion with YouTube, and it was a lot of fun at Jim Masters TV. That's our YouTube channel. I invite you to check it out, subscribe to the channel. That would be great, and spread the word. All of the episodes of this series, this fun series, is available and are available at the YouTube channel, Jim Masters TV. But it was a lot of fun. I went on a pop-up show where we just popped up, cup of coffee, these really cool donut-shaped cookies, and we had a great conversation with the viewers that went for almost 2 hours, and it was just a conversation with the viewers. It was supposed to be maybe an hour, maybe a quick 15-minute hit, and that's what happens when we get rolling. It's just automatic. You guys are fantastic. And again, we hear from literally all points of the globe, from all across the United States, Canada, Europe, Australia, New Zealand, Asia, Africa, even Hoboken, New Jersey. We hear from everywhere. It's absolutely amazing. And again, you guys are so supportive. We communicate all day long. I get so many Facebook messages and texts and posts on the Facebook page at Jim Masters TV, comments on the YouTube channel, Instagram at Jim Masters TV, Twitter, Jim Masters TV. It's really cool. As you know, for those who are watching for the very first time, we welcome you. We're here every night at 7 p.m. Eastern, 4 p.m. Pacific, live. That's right, a live show every night, 7 p.m. Eastern, 4 p.m. Pacific. Yesterday, we did a pop-up show at 1 in the afternoon, which was a lot of fun. Try to do something a little different and welcome some additional new faces to the Jim Masters Show Live. Again, it's a place for positivity and inspiration. You always learn something. We've got amazing guests all the time. And I do this work professionally, as I've mentioned. I've been on public television for many years as well, but also host a lifestyle travel TV series on CBS and CW affiliates. Was on iHeartRadio for 18 years as a host producer. I work with a television news magazine show in New York, radio and television, and have worked in TV and radio on camera, behind the scenes, on air, for networks, TV stations, radio stations for a long time, and launched this show, created it, and birthed it, so to speak, 13 weeks ago. And many of you have been with us for the entire time. And those of you who have hopped on and just dipped your feet in the water have seemed to really found something here that that speaks to you. And I really, really appreciate that. As somebody who does this work, professionally, to launch this and do something like this, just about nightly, which is a big, big, big undertaking. It's a lot of fun. It's truly a blessing to have you here and to be celebrating, especially during the times that we've been experiencing, which have been a little rough and tough, so to speak, and literally for so many people. So it's so good to have you here, and our friends are here. We have a cast of characters that always join us, and everybody loves the cast of characters. George Burns is here. Yes, I know you guys always look for George, so there he is. His cigar is here. His smile is here. There he is, looking right at you, making sure everybody's okay. He had a good weekend. We were here this weekend. We had a show on Saturday. We had television and film actor Sean Kanan was my special guest on Saturday. You know him. He starred in The Young and the Restless, Bold and Beautiful. He was AJ Quartermain for years on General Hospital. He was in Karate Kid 3, and now he's in Studio City, which he created, and that is on Amazon Prime. Very, very cool conversation we had, and you can find that full show and episode on Jim Masters TV at YouTube. Damian McGinty, who starred on Glee on Fox and also is in Celtic Thunder and has a great career as well as a singer and an actor, songwriter. He was just with us a couple of nights ago as well. You can find that full interview also on the YouTube channel at Jim Masters TV. And Kittredge was here. She was amazing. I mean, Tom Dreesen, the legendary comedian who was on Carson and every talk show you can think of, he was with us a couple of weeks ago as well. So many great people, all walks of life, all backgrounds we have here. And even the times we don't have a guest, it's terrific. We have so much viewer interaction. So George is there to greet you. Jeannie is here. I know you guys always look for Jeannie. Yeah, Jeannie's here. She's in the bottle. She greets you. I tell you, what fun we have with these characters that we've sort of created here and have included into our mix. You know, every host has their characters and has their cohorts and sidekicks. Silver is here. Silver looks for everybody and greets all of you. Again, if you remember, we got this on a TV shoot in Switzerland, this wonderful Kanan. He sort of keeps things under control, makes sure there's no craziness. Or at least the craziness is not as crazy as it could be. And Jimmy's here. There you go. Jimmy's smiling. No need to be afraid of Jimmy if you're not into clowns. Jimmy's a happy clown. And I think Jimmy will fill in if I'm ever called away or, you know, out of town or just not available. I think Jimmy will do a good job. He's a happy clown. That's a childhood toy. And of course, you know, we do a couple other things. We have a little process here. I mean, we pull out all the stops and high level production value for you guys. Matter of fact, we just went through a major home studio. You know, we broadcast out of the home studio here, built this set and everything 13 weeks ago. We did a major technical upgrade from every vantage point you can think of here. And it was really, really terrific. Everything looks so much 3D now, doesn't it? Oh boy, I don't want to spill this on the keyboard. But as we do, we always toast you and 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 you. All the lovities, as we call it. That's right. Everybody that watches now considered a lovity because we came up with that word lovity. And yes, we do keep the E in, even though grammatically it's not correct. You know, I before E, except after seeing all of that. But then it ruins the word love if we take the E out. And we had a poll, you know, should we spell it Lovity or Loveity, even though that's not technically grammatically correct. All of you, it was like on fire when we had that sort of, you know, non-scientific viewer poll. Everybody said, keep the E in. We want the word love intact and then just tack on the ITY. So that's what we did, and Lovity is what it is, and so is Lights, Camera, Action. We do this all the time to really officially begin the show. We go Hollywood, we go big here. So Lights, Camera, Action, the Jim Masters Show live is live worldwide, and we welcome you. So I tell you, we pull out all the stops for everybody here. How is everybody doing? Hope you're starting off the week, you know, in good spirits, maybe not following all the news 24/7. We just were outside. We did some tennis. We walked along the coast. Really beautiful, very humid. We broadcast out of the New York City area in the northeastern part of the United States. For those that are watching around the world, and we're on the coast between New York and Boston. We have a little bit of a storm headed our way for tomorrow. That is tropical storm. Hurricane. It's sort of meandering in and out. It's a tropical storm now hitting the Carolinas, and Florida was spared. Very happy about that. Family and friends and just everybody that's in Florida. And but the Carolinas are getting it now. And then it's supposed to go into the Atlantic, possibly energize again because of the water, the warmth of the water, and then come up the coast all the way up through the mid-Atlantic into the New York area, up through New England. We'll see. It's going to be crazy weather around these parts tomorrow. And tomorrow, very special guest, Lisa London, brilliant actress and singer. She's with us tomorrow on the Tuesday episode of the Jim Masters Show Live. And I hope everybody is doing well. I hope you guys are good spirits. I hope you're ready for a really, really terrific show. Very special guest is award-winning publisher and media executive extraordinaire, Tracy Bain. She is amazing. She's based in Chicago, and she heads up the Chicago Reader, and was also the creator of Windy City Times. She is really, really a fantastic. She's an advocate for justice. She's an advocate for peace. She's an advocate for getting along and understanding and truth and honesty. And I think that's an amazing thing. And I think that's very important. I think a lot of that's missing from our society. Remember, I say what we're going through right now, hopefully is a reset, and that we don't return to normal, that we maybe we rise from the ashes of all this devastation and everything. And maybe we're going to be going into hopefully better, more kindness, more empathy, more understanding. We'll listen to each other more, and we care for each other more. And, profitability and production and all of that is great. It's part of the equation. You have to do all that. But maybe with a better understanding of the needs of each other, I think that's very important. And as always, before we welcome our very illustrious guests, we always welcome the viewers who are here all the time. And yes, Christine, good news. I know you're experimenting on our YouTube channel to make sure the chat works, and you're on the YouTube channel, Jim Masters TV. And I encourage everybody, if you can, subscribe to the channel. We would love that. That would be great. There's no cost. I don't know why they say subscribe, because to go on YouTube, there's no cost. And if you create your own profile, you don't have to upload videos to be on YouTube either. You just subscribe, and that way you can participate in the chat. Hi, Jim, just a trial to see if the chat works. Christine, good news. We see the comments and you're there. And that's a great photo of you as well. And Willie is watching in Holland. She's a real trooper. Again, Willie is here every night. I think this is your 54th show in a row that you haven't missed. It is 1:15 a.m. in the Netherlands, in Holland. And she either stays up all day so she doesn't miss our show in Europe, or either that, she takes naps so she can wake up and not miss the show at 1 a.m. There you go, Willie. There are your Dutch tulips for you, for your loyalty. I think it's like 53 or 54 shows in a row. We've been on longer than that, but 54 that you haven't missed. So I'm your storyteller. I like to listen to your stories before you go to sleep. You're watching on YouTube. Thank you very much. And you're ready. And so are we. And so is our amazing guest. Happy Monday, Anne in Southern California. Good to see you. Thanks for being here as well. We really appreciate it. Lots of wonderful comments. Lots of great people here. Merlin watching in Innerkip, Ontario, Canada, here and ready for your show. Fantastic. I am here and ready to give you guys a great show. And it's always nice to see you here. And hopefully you'll figure out that YouTube. I think stick with Christine Clifton. She could tell you how it works, because I know you had a little trouble trying to figure out the YouTube thing. Can get a little tricky. Hi, Jim, and everyone on the show. Hope all is well. Sending you lovity from Hampshire, United Kingdom. Thank you very much. So good to see you as well, Avril. You're always a blessing to have here on the show. And we love the fact that you watch from England and from Hampshire. Beautiful, beautiful area. Good to see you and welcome to the show. Sharon DeMaria watching in Connecticut. It's nice to see you as well. Happy Monday evening to you, Sharon. I hope you're having a wonderful day. Always love seeing you here. And Willie says hello to her master's family. Renee in Iowa. Renee is here. Hi, everyone. Renee, good to see you. And you know what we're going to do, Renee? We're going to extend your Viewer of the Week status a little bit longer, because we haven't picked a new Viewer of the Week yet. So we could have done that in the pop-up show on YouTube yesterday, but we're going to give you a little extra time. So you get to wear the crown as our official viewer of the week even longer, okay? A couple more days longer. And then during the course of the week, we'll do another viewer of the week celebration. So that way you can, hand the crown off to the new viewer. But good to see you in Iowa, and I hope you finally picked up that sweet corn that you were trying to get. Marilyn watching in Wichita, Kansas. Hello, Marilyn. Good to see you. Thank you for the greeting. Nice to have you here on a Monday as we kick off the week together. Good evening, Linda in Alabama. Nice to see you as well. Pleasure having you here. Hope you're doing well. Christine, hi, Jim and Peeps, and Lovities. That's our new phrase, Lovities. Christine, good to see you in Connecticut and getting ready for the storm that's coming up, right, up the coast slowly. Tomorrow is going to be the busy day for folks in the Northeast. Smiles from Jerry Castaldo, and Jerry's going to be a guest a couple of weeks here on the show, actually very soon, in about a week. I'll keep you posted on that. Hi, all. Lovely to see so many great people. I agree as well. Good to see you here. We've got a good atmosphere here. We've got great guests. I love doing the show as your host and sort of the conductor of the train. And we have amazing viewers from around the world. And it just continues to grow and grow and grow. And the only way it grows is if you tell your friends and family and your colleagues and people about the show. If you love the feeling of the show, the energy, the look of the show, the vibe of this series that we have nightly, just continue to spread the word. And we'll have so many people watching and enjoying, and even more, exposure and guests as we continue to plot along together. We are in this together. Good to see you with that comment, Merlin. Thank you very much. Hi, Jim Masters. Happy Monday. I hope you're having a fantastic day. I love your hat and shirt. Thank you very much. I appreciate that. I know I'm cool hat. I'm a hat guy, so I do like to sport the hats every once in a while. Good to see you in Connecticut, Crystal. I hope you're getting ready for the tropical storm / possible hurricane coming up the coast. Be safe. Renee Katz in New York City in the Midlands of Flushing, Queens. Great to see you, my friend. We did a wonderful interview with Renee a couple of weeks ago. Wonderful, noted cabaret star, and beautiful having her here on the show. Happy Monday to you. And her mom's still celebrating her birthday, and hopefully she's finished off that cake. Good to see you, Renee. And again, if you want to see the interview I did in conversation as Renee is my guest, go back in the archives on Jim Masters TV, and you can see everybody. You can see all 13 weeks of episodes. And Jennifer Barry, good to see you here. I know you've been really loving this series, and it's so great to have you here every night. So many great comments you've been making during the live shows on my YouTube channel and Facebook pages, and I really appreciate that, Jennifer. Good to see you here. Tomorrow will be tough. Hopefully, yes. If we're not here tomorrow night, that's because the power went out. Put your fingers crossed, because we've got a tropical storm / possible hurricane coming in this direction in the northeastern United States on its way right now for tomorrow. So hopefully the Carolinas will do well. The Middle Atlantic will do well. The New York area, New England, the Northeast. Thank you very much. Cheers from Willie in Holland, and Anne in California, Crystal in Connecticut, Ching Ching from Avril in Hampshire, United Kingdom. Some wonderful licorice tea from Merlin. That sounds really good. Jacqueline Fakara Caputo is here. Nice to see you, Jacqueline. Welcome to the show. Hope you're doing well in New York. And double from Christine Fairwood. Good to see you as well. And Christine Clifton is becoming an expert now at YouTube. Cheers to all the Lovities. Good to have you here, and the wonderful conversation we had over the weekend on Facebook on Jim Masters TV. It was amazing. I think our conversation ended at 5:30 in the morning. Renee, you are the rule breakers. LOL. That's funny. I know you're afraid of clowns and dolls, but you love me. Okay, thank you. I appreciate that. All cool. We love you back, Jennifer. Absolutely. And just a few more here, and then I want to welcome my illustrious guest who is in our exclusive beautifully appointed green room, enjoying all of the luxuries of being a guest. She's having the champagne and the lobster and the fine chocolates and fancy cheeses in our green room waiting. She had her hair done, and our whole crew is taking care of her. Maybe not. She might be at her home office. More than likely, that is what it's going to be. Yes, thank you. All the East Coasters, thank you. Appreciate. It's turned into a hurricane. They said it was going to go back into hurricane status. So everybody, hang on to your hats. We will be tomorrow. Thank you very much. I appreciate that. Beautiful words, Jennifer. Pouring rain. Yeah, you're in North Carolina. That's right. And I think it's pretty much Wilmington, Charleston, South Carolina is getting battered right now. Cape Hatteras, the Outer Banks. You guys, the flooding is supposed to be amazing. I tell you, the last thing that everybody needs is any kind of natural occurrence, wouldn't you say? And very hot day in SoCal. Hang in there. Thank you. Very, very nice to say. We appreciate that. Very, very nice. Thank you very much. That's right. My sister, happy 29th wedding anniversary. I was there. I was the best man. Congratulations, my sister and brother-in-law's anniversary today. Congratulations to you both. Time certainly flies, huh? Doesn't it? It's amazing how it flies. Love you both. And you guys are doing well in beautiful Florida. You skirted that, or the hurricane skirted you guys. You're so lucky. Can't wait to see Tracy. Sorry, Staver, good to see you. I hope I'm saying your name right. Sorry or Sari. Because I'm sorry if it's not sorry. Jennifer, a good magical full moon tonight, Shlanta. And yes, happy anniversary for my sister and brother-in-law today. Absolutely. Ralph is here from Indiana. Good evening, Jim and Tracy. Good evening to you, Ralph. And happy anniversary from Christine. We should try and get Chris Culfer on the show. If anybody has contact with Chris, let me know. You can email us at jimmasterstv@gmail.com. Jimmasterstv@gmail.com. Let me say that again. jimmasterstv@gmail.com is the show's email address. So if there are some guest ideas that you have, I know we get suggestions from a variety of people, guests coming in from everywhere, even people that I know that have been hopping on the show. Feel free to email jimmasterstv@gmail.com. We appreciate that. Ernestine in North Carolina, I hope you're hanging in there in North Carolina with the hurricane. Hope you have a good day as well. My pleasure, Allison. We appreciate that. You are very welcome. You had the sweet corn last night for supper. Wonderful. Nice. Hello, Pamela Perkle. Hi, Jim and everyone. You know, I love that name, Pamela Perkle. I was thinking of this the other day. That's such a cool name, Pamela Perkle. You have a name where it's like you would be the woman across the street who, when the new neighbor moves in, you've baked like this bundt cake or something, and you go over to their house and you present them with this welcome package, this welcome basket, because you're friendly and you're perky. And hi, everybody. I'm Pamela Perkle. I'm your neighbor across the street. I've baked this bundt cake for you, and here's a little welcome basket, and I welcome you to our neighborhood. My husband is Mr. Perkle. Come on over. The kids are here, and we will greet you and come over for dinner one night with the Perkles. I love that. It's a great name. It's a really great name, Pamela Perkle. It just perks me up when I hear that name. Absolutely. Now, I don't know if any of that matches what I just said, but that is my thought, that you just have a friendly, perky personality and you're a sweet person, and you would go over to the new neighbors with a welcome basket and a bundt cake saying, I'm Pamela Perkle across the street and welcome to the neighborhood. Merlin saying happy anniversary to my sister and brother-in-law. Kansas City has been beautiful today. Pamela, that is nice. I can't wait to physically dance in the rain. Yes, that's very important too. A couple more, and then we're going to welcome our guests. We've got a lot of comments coming in here. The green room, Valerie, I know the green room sounds fun with the champagne and the lobster for our guests. You guys did dodge a bullet. hurricane skirted off that Florida coast. Thank you very much, Jennifer. You are welcome. I have Pamela pegged. So can we call you Peggy? Peggy Perkle, since you're pegged? Yeah, I'm a good judge of character. I don't know why. I'm very intuitive. And I just figured with the name Pamela Perkle and seeing your picture there, you know, you just seemed like somebody that would go across the street with the bundt cake and the welcome basket and say, hi, I'm Pamela Perkle from across the street. Welcome to our neighborhood. So I got you pegged. Pamela is the welcome lady, welcome wagon lady. Yes. She says, I am. See, I knew it. I just knew it. And Crystal says, happy anniversary to my sister and brother-in-law. Beautiful sentiments and wonderful comments. Now, my very special guest, who again has been feasting on the lobster and the champagne and the chocolates and the fine cheeses. She's somebody who's also wonderful and perky and friendly and caring and empathetic and also very, very successful. She is a successful publisher, and she is a journalist to the extraordinaire level, you know, a media executive. I love when I get a chance to talk to people that are in my line of work in terms of in print or broadcast media. Tracy Bain, she's publisher of the Chicago Reader, and she's also creator of the Windy City Times. And in addition to that, she has been highly awarded by many, many different organizations. She's been awarded the Lifetime Achievement Award from the Society of Professional Journalists in Chicago. She is a very, she's a mentor to many as well. And she's somebody that a lot of people look up to, who are starting their careers, who need to, you know, they want to feel the impacts and the understanding of somebody that has made their mark, somebody that continues to make their mark, somebody that's, you know, understands not only journalism and media, but also understands the human condition, and somebody that's really kind and empathetic and reflects that in her work and in the things that she chooses to be a part of. She created the Windy City Times, owns that, but she's so beloved in the industry, she was requested to become the publisher of the infamous and very, very popular and very beloved Chicago Reader. And she's also in the Hall of Fame for women journalists in Chicago as well, and a whole host. She's a native of Chicago, and a whole host of tremendous accomplishments and impacts that she has made in her career and on the lives of so many people. And we're so honored to have her here. Just want to show you this. This is the logo for the Chicago Reader. We'll talk about some of this as we go along, but here are some of the incredible covers from the Chicago Reader over the years as well. She's a very accomplished woman, very respected in the industry, beloved, and she has a vision and a vibe, and we're so excited to have her here on the show. Really cool covers, wouldn't you say? Always winning best of and all kinds of awards, you know, the paper, and so much more, and under the leadership of our very special guest, award-winning publisher, Tracy Baim. So let's welcome her to the show. It's a pleasure to have her here live and direct from Chicago. How are you, Tracy? Welcome to the show.
Good. Since you were doing characters, I brought our Wendy the Unicorn, Chicago Windy City Times. We did this a couple years ago. So I'm not necessarily a lovely kind of person, but I'm going to try.
But tonight you are. That's cool. It's amazing how many people have these little characters, and then when they see that we have you know, these props, they feel comfortable enough to say, you know what, I have mine, and let me show you my childhood toy, and I have this and I have that. Really cool. Welcome to the show. How are you doing tonight there in the Windy City?
We've got a lot of rain here, but we don't have a hurricane. We've had a lot of rain the last couple of days. In fact, I was working a wedding yesterday where I live. My sister runs a wedding venue, so we're doing mini weddings here. And it was drenching rain. It was supposed to be outside, so we had to have them come inside with their masks. So we're having a lot of rain, but I know that it's a lot worse on the East Coast. So I'm sending best wishes to everybody on the East Coast.
Absolutely. We appreciate that. We appreciate that. How did you first get into the world of journalism? What was your entree? Did you study it in school? Was it something that you always enjoyed, maybe in your junior high school, middle school, high school years? For me, that's pretty much when I started getting into the media industry. Wrote for the high school newspaper, got involved with the high school radio station and all of that. And then, off in college, studied broadcast media, communications, the whole thing. But when I was a kid, I used to go around the house with my little Panasonic cassette recorder, and I was always pretending I was the reporter interviewing the relatives. And so was this something early on for you in your youth that interested you, telling stories, being a storyteller, and being involved in journalism?
Yeah, and it's funny. I have never not wanted to be a journalist in all my memories. So starting at age 10, I did, and this would have been 1973, I did a family newsletter that I distributed throughout the neighborhood and sent to all my relatives. And it was brutally honest at times about heart attacks and bad things that happened to various family members. But it was also about, our animals, and especially in the early years, almost all about the animals. I had fake ads. I mean, I literally, and my parents, so I wanted to be it, but I think the reason I knew about that early enough is my mother was a journalist, and my stepfather, who came into our lives when I was about 5 years old, was also a journalist. And they both had different career paths. They met at the Chicago Tribune, which is a mainstream paper. But my mother, as a serious woman journalist, was kind of forced out of the Tribune and therefore created kind of an alternative path for herself. She went to various other publications, including was managing editor of the Chicago Defender for about 10 years. So I had in my family, I had the journalism, right? I had it in my blood, but I also had it all around me. And during a real heady time in American life, right, I was reading newspapers in the late 1960s and early 1970s with incredible amounts of politics and news and civil rights and civil unrest like we're living through now. So I always wanted to be a journalist. And then I did do journalism at Lane Tech High School. And then I also went to Drake University in Des Moines, Iowa, and got a news editorial journalism degree.
Oh, yeah. So you really were, you knew early on what you wanted to do, and you wanted to make a difference. Did you always know, and you alluded to it just a few seconds ago, I have to tell you, everybody's complimenting your smile. They love your smile. It's like infectious. Sorry, you are officially been indoctrinated into the world of levity. They love your smile. It's like very disarming. It's they're commenting about the smile. So that's a good way. I know you're turning red. That's a good way to begin. Did you also always know that not only were you searching, in journalism for truth and honesty and, fighting injustice? Did you always know that you wanted to do things that, or be involved in a role that allows you the opportunity to fight for the person that's not always represented? Also lift others up who feel that they are not being heard and that they're being neglected and shoved aside. Was this something that was in your DNA to match your passions of wanting to help those who are not being treated justly and being respected and honored, as well as your love for journalism, and those two things collided and brought you to where you are?
Yeah, I mean, my mother, when she kind of took her journalism path, is the one I mimicked most. And she covered Martin Luther King in the 1960s when he came to Chicago at Marquette Park, where there were race riots here. And she also went to Birmingham, Alabama, where he was. And she covered the home run record pace for Hank Aaron, and all the racism that he experienced. She worked for Buckminster Fuller on environmental causes, and she also worked for Dempsey Travis fighting against redlining. And redlining still exists in informal ways today, but especially in the 50s and 60s, it was the way that banks did not loan money to African Americans in areas of Chicago were the only places they could buy because they were kept out of other areas. So she fought against that redlining on a national level. And I've recently found some reports she did actually for the Black Mortgage Brokers Association of America. So I had it in my family, and for sure, I'm openly gay. And when I went to journalism school in 1980 to 84, there were only a handful of openly gay journalists in mainstream media in the whole United States. One of them was Randy Schultz in San Francisco. And so I kind of was worried about my future. And my professors were nice, but they were also realistic. And they said, you can't be an openly gay person and a journalist in this world. Like, you won't have a path, you won't have a career. And I was pretty devastated. And I did something that luckily didn't work, and I survived. But it was a pivot point in my life when I said, you know what? I will be a journalist, even if it's on the side and I have to do some other career to pay the bills, because nobody's going to make me compromise who I am. And also, to be a good journalist, you have to know who you are, and you shouldn't have to hide a part of yourself. But it was very true. My stepfather was at the Tribune, and he said, you know, there are no openly gay writers here. There are many gay writers here who were friends of his, but I couldn't have worked and lasted at the Chicago Tribune or other mainstream papers at that time. So I was kind of forced into an alternative journalism career. I'm ever grateful now, 36 years later, that I had that path, because I think I've been able to stay a journalist this long because I've controlled my own destiny in starting my own papers or doing it differently. I think I would have left the profession by 1990 if I had tried a mainstream path.
So having the understanding of the mainstream path and having dipped into it gives you an understanding and respect for it, but yet you knew that there was a certain road and certain avenue that really spoke to you directly. So what were some of those first additional steps that you took on your road, on your journey through the journalistic trails of life for you? Some of those other opportunities that came your way that started really opening up your world for you and the success to follow?
Well, one of the things that was great about my high school training was that at Lane Tech, it was called Lane Tech High School there back then, we learned how to do the newspapers from the ground up. So we had printers there, we had handset type, we had typesetting equipment where I got burned on the line of type machines. But I learned every aspect of how to put a physical paper together. And I used that skill to get through college. It paid my way through college because I knew how to run these machines. And then when I graduated, I was able to go to a newspaper. My mother heard about this job at this weekly gay paper that I'd never heard of called Gay Life. And I walked in the door and I said, oh, I know how to run that equipment. So can I typeset for you? I know how to take photos. I know how to develop photos. I knew all the stuff around it. And I was happy to deliver the paper when I have to do it. And so that meant that I was more valuable than just a traditional reporter. So I got a job part-time, and then I moved up to managing editor within a year at Gay Life. And then I was a co-founder of Windy City Times 36 years ago next month. I have the third edition of Windy City Times I have here with some of the coverage we did in October of 1985, for those who can see. This was actually when Rock Hudson passed away from AIDS complications. So I was, fortunate that that I was able to get a job at Gay Life that then led to the co-founding of Windy City Times in 1985. And during that window of time in the gay movement, we were very unaccepted in the mainstream. Certainly, we were covered badly. Hollywood ignored us or treated us like horrible people. The police were brutalizing and raiding gay bars. And we also had HIV/AIDS really starting to be named and starting its devastation, especially starting on the East and West Coasts. And then Chicago was hit a little bit later. When I started in 1984 at Gay Life newspaper, there were fewer than 100 cases diagnosed of HIV in Chicago. And it was continuing its devastation to today, but especially had peak years of the late 80s and early 90s. So as a young journalist, it was like being plopped right into the middle of a war zone. And I understood the importance of history immediately, and the importance of getting people's voices down immediately, because I would take somebody's photo, within a few weeks they would be dead. We had writers who would go into the hospital and be dead a week later. One of our co-founders, Bob Bearden, he got diagnosed a month after we founded the paper. He was able to hang on a lot longer than people in those days, and he died about a year later. And we were working out of his apartment at the time. So we were really, in the meanwhile, the mainstream media kind of ignored it or really treated people horribly, and stereotyped people and blamed people. We're blaming people with AIDS. So it was a really it was an incredible time to be a journalist, to make sure those stories were told. As you were saying, like, these were stories that nobody else was telling. And if they were telling them, they were telling them from a really bigoted lens.
Yeah. So did you sometimes feel like you were fighting an uphill battle in the early years? So you're talking about creating, Windy City Times 36 years ago, and it was a whole different world 36 years ago. That's for sure.
Yeah, absolutely. In retrospect, it feels like it was a natural arc towards justice, right? But back then, you absolutely felt like you were being attacked from so many sides, from the powers in politics. Although Mayor Harold Washington at that point was actually very pro-gay, and subsequent mayors have been pretty pro-gay as well. A lot of the outside of Chicago leadership, federally and other places, we had Ronald Reagan as the president, who didn't utter the word AIDS for most of his administrations. So you felt like you were being attacked from the powerful, the elite, and you were also being attacked because there were serial killers who were preying on the community. There was a lot of homophobia internalized. So substance abuse rates and domestic violence and all those things that happen internal to communities was also, damaging and causing a lot of trauma. I mean, when you think about it, there's differences between different kinds of discrimination. Every person that experiences that experiences different discrimination. So there's no way you can compare homophobia to racism, to ageism and other things. They're all different things. The difference about homophobia is that you are often ostracized from your own family for something you are either transgender or LGBT. And so losing that ground you are standing on, literally the foundation of your life, causes so much trauma that people internalize and take out on one another. Building community with people who have experienced that kind of trauma is very difficult. And many people came in and out of the movement, and still do today, who can't, don't have the tools to deal with one another in a sophisticated way. So it can be a very trying community. I think, like any community, has infighting. But for the most part, I'm really grateful that I've been able to be part of it and see the kind of change. And the change we've seen in the world in the United States anyway, in the last 36 years is unbelievable. The only reason we have that change is because there were prior civil rights movements whose legal victories and social victories we rest our rights on. Gay rights are rested on Roe v. Wade. They're rested on Loving v. Virginia that allowed interracial marriage. So because of those movements that took hundreds of years, our movement has taken a few decades to progress to where it is today.
So when you created Windy City Times, tell us about the evolution of Windy City Times. And that really was quite an undertaking. And what were those first years and steps like when you had this vision of creating it? What did you want to bring to bear that maybe wasn't really existing at that time, especially there in Chicago?
Yeah, there were in our gay papers around the country. In the mid 1980s, there were a couple really long-standing ones from Philadelphia, Washington, D.C., San Francisco, New York. And in Chicago, Gay Life had been around 10 years. It was owned by a man named Chuck Renslow, who also owned Gay Bars and International Mr. Leather, and I really got along with him well. But the problem was he also had a lot of concentrated power. He was also very active in Democratic politics, and so people felt like Gay Life couldn't be objective and comprehensive about the community. I really didn't have any issues with him, but some of the other people that wanted to found Windy City Times really convinced me to go with them, to be the founding managing editor there. And it certainly was just very trying. I mentioned before that Bob Bearden, one of the co-founders, got sick right away. And he was really the guy I left to do the paper with. His partner at the time, Jeff McCourt, he was the publisher. And there was a man who was art director, Drew Badanish. But I knew Bob the best. And so it was really difficult staying there during that, really the formation of it. And I felt like one of my co-founders, Jeff, had really gotten too involved in the politics of the community for myself to be comfortable with. And so I actually left Windy City Times in 1987 to co-found a paper called Outlines newspaper. And we also did papers called Black Lines and En La Vida over the years. And eventually in 2000, I bought back Windy City Times from Jeff, and felt like I'd gotten my baby back from foster care. But I had been doing gay papers ever since then. But the papers I was doing didn't have near the name recognition as Windy City Times. Like, we had a great community reputation, but Jeff, because he was such a good businessman, had really brought Windy City Times into a much more mainstream recognition. So I wanted to merge our community paper with the more sound business paper, Windy City Times.
So when you created Windy City Times, what was the initial reception from Chicago readers?
It was very great. It was great. We really were intentional about the diversity of how we were covering the community, the breadth of from culture to politics to sports to news. I mean, we really tried to be your one-stop shop for everything in the community. And of course, this was before the internet, right? So we had this weekly paper that was the touchstone of what was going on. And the reason I know what we did served a role in retrospect is that it is being used now in research and in books and in films. I don't know if many of your folks have heard of the book, The Great Believers, but it's a hugely award-winning book internationally. And Rebecca Mackay, the author who's from Chicago, she used Windy City Times and interviewed myself and a bunch of other people from that era to get everything right in that book. So we were the one-stop place you could get it before an internet existed. If you wanted to know when the rallies were, the protests, how to reach your city council member to lobby for gay rights bill, it was the place to go for doing that. Media has changed immensely since then, but during that 1980s era, when we're facing a health crisis and violence and all sorts of other things, you needed that way to reach one another, to feel like you were part of a community.
So did the paper continue to expand, and more advertisers and sponsors started understanding the mission of the Windy City Times, and then things started rolling in the right direction for you?
Yeah, and by that time I was at Outlines, and Outlines, again, is the community paper. My co-founder, Jeff McCourt, successfully positioned Outlines as a woman's paper. Even though I was the same person, I was working for him, he kind of made it into this woman's paper. And so we did not get as many. We never lived through those big years of Gravy Train, but the gay press big years were in the 1990s, first with phone sex and then with pharmaceutical ads and some mainstream. But it is interesting how long it took most mainstream corporations to not be afraid of the gay dollar. You see now on Pride, just too much rainbows, right? Like, it's overwhelming how many companies now embrace the gay dollar. I think in a very unsophisticated way, but they at least are making efforts. But back then, many corporations would not even touch the gay market. They were terrified of a backlash. AT&T did tiptoe into the market once, and they got a boycott threat, and they pulled right back out of it. But there were enough that the 1990s were really strong for the gay press. There were more than 200 gay papers and magazines around the country at that point. I have a book called Gay Press, Gay Power, and it looks at the trajectory of gay papers all the way back to 1924. The first one was in Chicago. It was a gay newsletter that was shut down by the government, and the creators were arrested, all the way through to The Advocate, which is a national publication, and dozens of regional papers. So it's kind of ebbed and flowed. The peak was 1990s. Since 2000, with the internet and all the other changes in media, the gay press has suffered along with everybody else. And there's also this mainstreaming of gay people, which means that a lot of the advertising that used to specifically go into gay media is now going into Facebook to target gay people or other places. So gay press is definitely suffering. It's at its weakest point probably since the late 1970s.
Very interesting. You're getting some really beautiful comments coming in here. Thank you for the contributions, and thanks for sharing your incredible stories and your career with us. So very insightful on the early years, and talking about Bob, Chuck, and Jeff as well. Nice comment here from Merlin in Canada. Says it makes her angry that people can't be themselves. Rini Katz in New York City. Nice comment here from Rini, thanking you for your steadfastness and awareness. And Dwayne's watching in the Ozarks. Welcome, Dwayne, in the Ozarks. I tell you, we reach everywhere you can think of. I think only Antarctica, the Arctic Circle, and we're still waiting to hear from Iceland. Iceland, Greenland. But so then comes along with all of this incredible experience. And this is Willie in Holland, who's our wonderful, faithful viewer who takes naps in the day so she doesn't miss our show at 1 a.m. in Europe, mentioning about her. So she says her own grandchild is transgender, and he remains my grandchild. Boy, that's a beautiful thing for a grandmother to say, huh? She remains no matter what. She loves and respects everyone. We are all one human race. We're all the human race. I love all American. I love all human beings. Very beautiful as well. So then with all of this incredible steadfastness, as the viewers are saying, and this passion and this enthusiasm, and then of course your incredible journalistic integrity and skill set, comes this extraordinary opportunity to become the publisher of this noted and renowned publication, the Chicago Reader. Tell us about this opportunity, Tracy, and when and how did this happen? This must have been really, amazing for you.
Yeah, for those who don't know, the Chicago Reader is kind of like the Village Voice, which of course the Village Voice is no more, very sadly, but it started as an alt weekly in 1971. So in early 2018, the Chicago Reader ran a very racist cover. And I reached out to the publisher of the Chicago Reader, which was actually the Chicago Sun-Times. They owned the Reader at that point in its life. And I said, because they fired the person that did the cover. And I said, I'm curious how the Reader's doing. It seems like it's flailing, and I'd love to come in and see if it's salvageable. And they offered me to take the Reader off their hands for $1. And I said no, which was the best no of my whole life. I'm not really known for saying no, but I said no because I knew I didn't even know enough information. And so what happened was a couple other people were going to take it over later that year, and they were pulling out of the deal because they did spend time under the hood and realized it needed a whole lot more than they were able to provide time-wise. And so the union, it's represented by a writers union, reached out to me and said, hey, Tracy, would you like to take over? And so I contacted the publisher again and said, look, I don't have the money, but I have the chutzpah and I have the time. And if it's savable, I will save it. If it's not savable, then I'll be honest with you and we can move on. So I was hired in September of 2018 to come on board. It was a very bumpy time to get to know the staff very quickly because they had been really down. They had been, threatened with it closing every week for months. They had experienced that racist cover. They just were really down and depleted. So I had a lot of building of trust to do. Some of them knew of me from Windy City Times, but Windy City Times is a smaller paper. So they didn't necessarily have trust that I would be able to take over the larger paper that had 15 more years experience. But it was really an honor. I still say it's an honor today. We had a 2.5-year plan that in February, March of this year got totally derailed with COVID-19. We lost 90% of our advertising immediately and still are in that position. But what we've been able to do as a team, we've got about 30 staff members. We've not had to lay off anybody or furlough anybody. We've done some really crazy fundraising ideas. Within 4 days of shutting down our offices and everybody going to work home, we put out a coloring book that raised $40,000. It's crazy. Everybody thought I was crazy, and then I was like crazy smart after it started selling. And then our staff started to get inspired. So someone created a cookbook. Someone did a best of music writing. And we've done all these other projects, even a puzzle. And we have raised over $150,000 that way. We luckily did get PPP. So we've replaced, for the last 6 months, we've replaced all our losses so far. But there is no guarantee of the next 6 months or year. It's so unpredictable which direction COVID-19 is going to go. So we are trying to be as conservative as possible in the path forward.
You have this wonderful book project as well. We're taking a look at some of this here. Tell us about this. This is quite exciting.
Yeah, one of the things I had wanted to do by the time I was 40, quite a few years ago, was to put things down in a more permanent way than a newspaper, because not everybody can access newspapers once they're over, and they, if they don't have fast internet and a lot of stuff isn't scanned. So I started to put together projects. The first book I did was Out and Proud in Chicago. And it was a companion book to a public television documentary in Chicago about a decade ago. And I had already been doing interviews with folks at a website I created called ChicagoGayHistory.org. And so I had a lot of the basic research done. And of course, I had 25 years experience kind of covering the community. So we put together this book, which has over 400 photos, in about 3 or 4 months as a pledge drive book for the public radio. And that went really well. And so slowly other people in the community started to say, well, would you do a book on my life? And the next couple of projects were A Leatherman, The Legend of Chuck Renslow, the man who had owned Gay Life newspaper. He knew he was near death. And so myself and a man named Owen Kanan got together with Chuck and interviewed him over a period of several months. And then Jim Flint, the owner of the Baton Show Lounge, said, I've got some stories to tell. And it just kind of built from there. One of my favorites is this, the one top left with Barbara Giddings, gay pioneer. Her widow asked me to work on the book. Barbara had passed away in 2007, and they'd always wanted to do a book about her life. That's her protesting in 1965. And she was one of the, literally about a couple hundred people in the whole country that would be openly gay, have their photo taken for the media, fighting for gay rights in the 1960s. So that was a real honor. And then probably one of my favorites is Obama and the Gays. I collected all of my history I had on Obama because he had been for gay marriage in 1996 when my newspaper had interviewed him. And he changed, and then he went back. And I was like, someone's going to do a book on this someday, and they're going to use all my research. I better get it out there first. And almost all of these, except for the Out and Proud book, I self-published because I'm not patient enough to wait 10 years for a book to come out. I feel like my life is, you never know how much life you have, and I just need to get them out of me and then move on to the next thing.
Absolutely. I want to show folks, we ran through just a couple of these in the introduction, some of the amazing covers too over the years with the reader. Tell us about this. A lot of thought always goes into the headline, but also into the covers. You guys come up with some really amazing, thought-provoking and colorful covers as well. Yeah,
the ones up here right now predate me. The other set is under me. But it is an interesting thing at the reader. We have, I think they've always had amazing art directors and editors. It's a freeing thing for me as a publisher to be able to really have faith in the group. I do get to see the covers ahead of time and help them plan, but I'm pretty much 95% out of the editorial and art side of the paper. We just try to hire really talented, qualified people. And the covers really they have so many iconic covers over the last 49 years. The 50th anniversary of the Readers next year. So we're hoping to put together a book of covers. These are some of the more recent ones that are under my tenure, but I don't take credit for any of them. We have a really terrific team, and that allows me to focus on the business and sales side. So it's really kind of freeing for me. I am a trained journalist, so I know and I care about that side of the office. But really what I see my job now is to save the job of other journalists. Like I've had my career. I've gotten to be write about any kind of topic I could ever want. I interviewed Obama. I interviewed here in Washington. I've done the stories already. And now I want the next generation to be able, next generations really, to have their chance to be journalists in the career that I had.
Ralph asks about the films. Are there films involved as well?
Yeah, on that flyer on the lower right, there's 3 films I've produced. One was with Sharon Gless from Cagney and Lacey. It's called Hannah Free. And we filmed 17 of the 18 days. We filmed it in my house. It's based on a play in Chicago called Hannah Free. And it's about 2 women who were together all their lives, but were separated at the end in a nursing home because of homophobia. That came out a decade ago. And then the next one was Scrooge and Marley, which Ralph helped us on the music. He helped us get Jason Gould to do the closing credits song. And it's a beautiful retelling.
And that's Jason Gould is Elliot Gould and Barbara Streisand's son.
Yeah, he did the closing song. And we had some really fun actors in it. David Presner played Scrooge. Tim Kazurinsky was Marley. And a bunch of others like Bruce Valanche were in it. It's really sweet retelling of the Dickens tale. And then the other one is a reading of an amazing poet in Chicago, Enina J., her work called Body of Rooms. So I've really, that's kind of, I tinkered in that. If I was a multimillionaire, I would do movies all the time, but I hate raising money from friends to do these kind of passion projects. So I've stuck to books and newspapers.
We just had Bruce Valanche on a couple of nights ago as a special guest. It was really terrific. He was amazing, and he's a riot. So funny as well. Here's another couple of covers here too.
Yeah.
This is really cool, huh?
Yeah, they just had really talented people over the years.
There's another one.
Oh yeah. Leo Galil, who's the author of that cover story, we just put out a collection of his best of music writing for the last decade, and it's been doing really terrific. He's interviewed he tries to interview people at the start of their career. So like he had the first major interview with Chance the Rapper, for example. So many great musicians and other talented people get their start in Chicago, and the reader tries to be on the front end of that, not once they've made it, but before they've made it.
It's a cool one here too.
Yeah.
Really, really cool. And then there's also reader recipes too. Chicago Cooks at Home.
Yeah, this is one of our crazy projects that our team came up with to do since COVID was devastating us economically. Yeah. And it also benefits a charity that helps servers. So it's 80 chefs and bartenders from around Chicago that gave their recipes. So all of these people can get on our website at chicagoreader.com under our merchandise.
Of course, because you're there in Chicago, Merlin in Canada asks, have you ever met Oprah?
I actually had, and it's funny, Oprah show was obviously taped here.
Channel 7, yeah, WLS. Yeah.
They taped here for a very long time. And they would call us constantly looking for certain people from the community. They say, do you have an interracial lesbian couple with children? Do you have a divorced woman who's now with her new partner? Like they'd have like these topics, and they would come to us to say if we knew someone in the community. We were like the gay Rolodex to come to. I wish I'd fostered that relationship a little more than just being helpful on the outside. But I was never on the show, but I was in the audience a couple times.
In the audience as well. Here's another one too. The books issue.
Yeah, that was just last week, and we have a fun. Yeah. It's especially focused on independent bookstores. So we had a big bookstore map of the independent stores of Chicago, which we always love to support, and had coverage of upcoming books by Chicago authors. We're very Chicago focused, but there's so much great culture coming out of here. It's a never-ending stream of stories to do.
With the mask.
Yeah, we had some really fun early COVID pictures. We had this one photographer who would go around town and took some really incredible. One of them we used for the puzzle. It was of the bean and said, "Do not touch." And we sold a couple hundred posters. Puzzles with them. They were so beautiful. Yeah.
That's a cool one. Look at that one.
Yeah, it was a tribute to essential workers that we did. Yeah.
That's fantastic. The graphic designers, the animators, the folks you have on staff are really talented.
Yeah, we use a lot of freelancers. We have a great pool of freelance illustrators and photographers. So we don't have a lot. We have an art director and a graphic designer on staff, but what we try to do really is share the work with a whole range of freelancers.
So how big is the actual staff putting, a paper of this magnitude together and of this significance together?
We have 31 staff. A couple of them are part-time, but most are full-time. And then we have, and in any one month, probably 60 to 70 freelancers that might do one review of a movie or a feature, big in-depth feature. We also get some grants from foundations that will be research projects. And then we also partner with other community media. We created something called the Chicago Independent Media Alliance last year out of the Reader to bring together dozens of other media to work on projects together to help lift all boats.
That's terrific. That's fantastic. Again, it's all one big community. It's all teamwork and people pulling together and supporting one another. Here's another cool one too. There's a coloring book as well, right? Tell us about this.
Oh, this was so fun to do. We reached out to illustrators through social media as well as ones that had already been part of the Reader family. And we did a call. It was so weird. We shut down the office on a Monday. That same day, I took on this project and made a call out to artists. Within 4 days, we had like 60 submissions to this. We said we would split the proceeds with the artists. So 50% of the proceeds went to the Reader and 50% of the proceeds were split among, ultimately, I think there were over 50 artists that went into the book. Oh my God, the styles are so different. You have very simple line art, very complex work. You have some traditional Reader type style, which is a little, I like to say, in the Linda Berry cartoon style, if people know her. And then it's family friendly. There's a little that are lewd, but they'll pass the test, I think, for most families. And it's been really, really fun. What's even cooler about it is because we did it so fast, we were kind of the first out of the gate doing a coloring book. Dozen other alternative media around the country contacted me and said, how did we do it? And so I was able to help share ideas with them. And we are part of a network of alternative media. And so on listservs, I was able to, tell them how to price it, how many we sold, all that kind of stuff, so that they could also do fundraisers on it. And some of them done really successful ones too.
Here's a question of being an ex-truck driver. Did you know Chicago has 3,500 low bridges?
Yeah, that probably seems about right. We are a pretty large footprint area, and we got some we got some bridges. I've been behind trucks that get stuck. I've seen them, and I'm like, oh, how did you not know you weren't going to make it?
Look at that comment, Christopher Joseph. Probably she turned into a priest who was here. Amazing. Yeah,
here's the thing. I want priests outed. I don't want priests connected to the gay community. Abuse happens by people of all persuasions. 95% of abuse happens by heterosexuals, because 95% of the people are heterosexual. And so this is how the media used to cover our community in the 70s and 80s, was with pedophilia or bad priests. And they are separate things. And all priests who abuse anybody, male, female, whatever, should be dismissed and hopefully prosecuted if there's evidence and hasn't expired the statute of limitations. But it is I appreciate your comment, but sometimes it gets frustrating because we get lumped in with a whole class of people that we shouldn't be lumped into.
Totally separate issue. Exactly. There's another one now. There was also a celebration of the best poetry as well. And I love this graphic.
Yeah, we are doing a collection of poetry for the year. So every other week with the Poetry Foundation of Chicago, we are doing a poem, and we're using curators from the community. So the reader isn't selecting them, the curators are, and we're using different curators each quarter. So we hope to continue to collect those, and maybe at some point have a collection. For sure, for our 50th anniversary, we're expecting to do lots of really fun special projects, from buttons to toys to albums and all sorts of other things.
That's really, really cool. Tell us about this cool picture.
That was taken by Glitter Guts. We had some staff photos last year, and I used to play Little League. So that's my pitching. I'm sure I wasn't a great pitcher, but I did pitch in Little League in early 1970s Chicago. So I was that's our squeezy ball, one of our fun promotional items that we have at the Reader. I have no humility when it comes to promoting things that I love and that save people's jobs. So I will sell anything, do anything in order to not have to lay anybody off at my company. And that's one of the things we did, was a squeezy ball.
That's a cool idea. Really cool idea. And you do look like you're ready to make a big pitch, either a pitch on the softball field or a sales pitch, or both.
That's good. I'll have to use that.
That's my marketing and promotional advertising background's coming in. So how have you and the staff been getting through, everything? We've all had to pivot. Like for me, in the television and radio side of things, I'm doing a lot of work out of the house. Fortunately, I can do radio hosting and things of that nature, voiceover work and writing out of the house. I launched this, entertainment lifestyle talk show series 13 weeks ago as of tonight. But as far as the television stuff, there's been a few things that we've been doing. But as far as getting on planes and flying to TV shoots and supposed to be in Texas, Florida, supposed to be in Ireland on shoots.
Yeah.
It's a whole other world. Everything's pretty much stopped in that department. How are you guys? I mean, there is the ability with writing. My college roommate actually is a sports writer in Boston for not necessarily covering sports, but really the footwear, the sporting goods industry. So he works for magazines that are, he works for a particular magazine. He's an editor of a magazine, actually, that focuses on the footwear and the attire that, athletes wear. So very good. He's able to work out of the house, not necessarily flying right now, but can do interviews and things out of the house. How about you? You and your team and the journalists, are they all doing things remotely and virtually right now, or are you guys back in an office setting?
We're actually looking to close our office down and definitely shrink it. What's interesting is I already had this experience. Windy City Times, our office has been virtual since 2010. So when this happened, I'm like, oh, well, this isn't hard. I mean, we just got to get some, put some things into place to make sure we have high-speed internet at certain people's homes. We're still working on some of the logistics with servers. So our team immediately went home around March 13th. I go into the office every day with one other person to handle the mail and the bank deposits, and we do shipping of the paper out to subscribers, and also all these coloring books and everything we've got to ship out as well. So we need some small footprint to do the work, but pretty much everybody is able to do the work at home. We do have some freelance photographers that are out covering some of the protests, and there is some stuff going on in person, but the vast majority of people are working from home, and I want to keep them as safe as possible. Most of them take public transit. The office itself might be decent to be in, but it doesn't have outdoor windows, so I'm worried about circulation. And then also, I don't want people on public transit right now if they don't have to be, right? They are essential workers in a different sense. The people who have it most difficult, and we make sure they're doing okay, is the company we hired to deliver the paper. We have almost 1,200 delivery locations across the city. Luckily, about 2/3 of those are in newspaper boxes, so they don't have to interact with people or go into a place. But they all have masks and gloves, and we are constantly saying, there's nothing important. If you think you're at risk, don't deliver to that location. And so we've been able to, so far, so good in terms of having any issues for our staff. I think the bigger issue is the psychological issue. In our industry, the media industry, almost everybody's doing layoffs all around us. Even local, strong National Public Radio, Chicago Tribune has been doing furloughs and buyouts. So we watch that in our industry as it's shrinking. And we know at some point it's going to affect us. We're holding it off and holding it at bay as long as possible. But the longer this goes, the longer COVID goes, the vast majority of what we do and cover and who advertise with us are music venues and theater venues and dance venues. And these folks aren't coming back this year. And so how do we sustain our team as long as possible into 2021 when we have our 50th anniversary? So I really don't know. I certainly don't have a crystal ball. But our team is absolutely a stronger team because of what's happened the last few months, including the protests in the streets. We are a very progressive paper, and we've been covering these protests and tweeting about them and social media posting in alliance with a lot of the stuff that's going on in Chicago. And I think we're showing our progressive stripes in terms of challenging the mayoral administration and challenging systems that are not allocating resources fairly, not dealing with COVID fairly, and certainly not handling the protests well at all in our city.
It's really amazing. Got to do that social distancing with that mask and not have all of these house parties. It's just extending this so much. It's amazing. So your 50th anniversary next year?
Yeah.
Wow.
Yeah, it was founded in October of 1971 by some guys that went to college together. And it really has been this kind of alternative to the mainstream. It doesn't cover like all the breaking news, right? It covers the stories behind the news and stories nobody else covers, whether that's in-depth features with cultural people or it's political stories. The coverage of police brutality in Chicago in the 1980s in the Chicago Reader led to massive changes decades later. And lots of stories like that the Reader has done have led to changes in policies. Last year, we had this big, I think it was like a 15,000 word story on evictions in Chicago, which is very timely now, but is always timely for the people that are affected. So we looked at this one company, Pangea, that had a much larger number proportionally of evictions. And that story resulted in some changes. There was a law that you were supposed to videotape eviction hearings, and they hadn't been. So one of the results of our series was that they started to tape those again so that there was a record of what was going on in eviction court. So those are the kind of stories we like to do. They're not going to be always the breaking news that you might see in the daily newspapers.
What do you see as the future of the Chicago Reader? Do you see it going into other parts of the media? Do you do video as well? Is there other?
We do some YouTube live stuff, not a lot, but we do a podcast with the Ben Jarafsky. It's called the Ben Jarafsky Show, and we actually do it with the Chicago Sun-Times. Ben is a longtime political reporter and has a really great following among political and media people. So we do that 4 days a week, and we definitely plan to expand into doing more podcasting. Some of it very one-time special interest or around elections and things like that. So for sure, podcasting. I don't see us going great into video in terms of the cost and the quality issues. but we have tiptoed into it on YouTube, where people's expectations are different than a whole polished 10-minute video that we might produce like the New York Times does. I mean, they do fantastic video and they spend the money to do it, and we just wouldn't have that.
So it's a very grassroots as far as the the financial base underneath. It's very grassroots, right? Do people subscribe? Do they donate to keep it going? How does that all work? How is it? Of course, there's advertisers too, but how does it overall sustain itself?
Yeah, it's interesting because it actually was the first free weekly newspaper in the country in 1971, and it still is free today. Everywhere you get it, it's in print or online, is free. The podcasts are all free. So they're advertiser supported. But when I took over in the fall of 2018, we launched the first membership drive for the Reader. We called it the Founders Circle. And we raised about $110,000 from individuals. Some of them gave $1, some of them gave $1,000. And they became founding members of the Chicago Reader. And ever since then, we've been creating a monthly sustainer campaign where people can give $5, $10, or more dollars a month for the effort. And again, everything's free. So you're not buying access, you're just supporting the work of the journalists. And some of the donations, like I knew the Reader had a loyal following before I took over, but I didn't know how much until I started to experience it with the calls, the emails, and people that would drop by, literally took a bus to the office to donate $1, right? I knew that dollar proportionally was just as impactful to their life and their wallet as someone who might have written $1,000 check. And so it really showed us how much the loyalty was for this paper. And during this COVID crisis, the same thing happened. We asked people to donate. One of the really interesting things that came out of the COVID crisis was this network that we had created last year. We moved into emergency mode and in 3 weeks created a joint fundraiser for 43 of the 65 members of the Chicago Independent Media Alliance. So this project that was kind of mostly on paper, we converted to being a reality. And I was shocked. We raised over $100,000 from individual donors, and most of the people donated to all 43 papers, including the Reader. And then we raised $60,000 in matching money from foundations. So over 160,000 new dollars into community media in Chicago out of the COVID crisis, because people know how important local news is to what they do. Yes, of course, we need the national news and the broadcast news too, but we also need local news to find out what's going on in our neighborhoods, the closings that are happening, where's the HIV testing, where's the COVID testing, where do I get a breast cancer screening, all those things that are important on the ground. And so I was really heartened by that campaign. The Reader raised about $5,000 and then $5,000 in matching. And we helped raise for everybody else $150,000. So it shows that the Reader really does care about our media landscape. We don't want to just save ourselves. We do not want to be the last paper standing. We will die too. We need all of us together, the African-American media, the LGBT, the Latin, the Asian. We need all of us together to create a strong media ecosystem.
With the conversations that are happening now, of course, we're dealing with several major things at once. We have the pandemic, we have the total devastation of the economic situation and the reality of that, and of course the civil unrest and some of the change that's happening within our society. Do you find, I would imagine right now, this is the time where the Chicago Reader really, really shines and where it really is extra impactful and really the voice really stands out and is needed probably now more than ever as a place to go to for the facts, the information, the understanding, the breakdown of some, the dissection and understanding and relatability of what's going on. Do you find this is almost not only a pivotal time in our society, country, globally, all of it, because everybody's taking a look at different things, but also for this paper on the eve, coincidentally, of its 50th anniversary?
Yeah, I do think the Reader is as important as it was in 1971 when it was fighting for things like legalization of cannabis, far ahead of its time. And now it fights for racial equity on cannabis to make sure that the licenses in Chicago are equitably distributed. The Chicago Reader in this media ecosystem plays a very important role. But as I said before, it's very complementary to other media that also play important roles. So we have organizations like The Tribe, which is African-American woman run, dozens of African-American media, from podcasts to newspapers that exist, Latino media, Asian media, LGBTQ with Windy City Times and other media. All of us are covering things so critical to our communities that bubble up sometimes to the mainstream media, but often don't. Often are things that never would have been covered if we didn't exist. There are studies that show when local media goes away, whether that's in a small town or a big city, corruption reigns, and there's a less informed electorate. And that's the way the powers that be like it. They don't want us to know the true stories. They want to control the media. And so the more media you have from all points of view, the better it is for society, because people can then curate their experience. They can read 5 or 6 newspapers instead of one person telling them who to vote for and what to do. So yeah, the reader is very important in that ecosystem, but it's complementary to other efforts that happen locally.
What do you hope is the future of the Chicago Reader with you at the helm as the publisher? Do you have some other visions and dreams, taking it to other levels, other places as well, Tracy?
Yeah, so we've applied for nonprofit status. The Chicago Reader put our request in for 501c3 right before COVID hit. So I'm not sure if we're going to hear back anytime soon. But we want to make it, it's going to be called the Reader Institute for Community Journalism, a charity. And we want to be able to be a fiscal agent for other smaller media outlets if they can't afford the process of converting to 501c3. Right now, we do have a fiscal agent ourselves so that we can receive grants and donations that are larger for people that want a tax deduction. But we want to get to that status ourselves and make it truly kind of a community-driven effort so that it won't have owners anymore. The owners themselves now that saved it, they want this because they were only going to save it for a certain period of time. So we wanted to let them off the hook and get this to a charity space. And given the crisis facing media, more foundations are willing to put funding into journalism. And my goal is to convince even more of them that currently don't fund journalism to expand journalism. Because if you don't have journalists watching your money, if you donate in your area's environment, you care about the environment, you need journalists covering the environment. You need to not just give money to the nonprofits working on it. You need somebody to amplify that message and cover those issues from a journalistic perspective. So I think there's a lot of the funding that can come into journalism that hasn't been tapped yet. And Chicago in particular, I think, has a lot of foundations that are kind of just ready for that. And I want to create a journalism pooled fund in Chicago so that foundations can put their money together and someone else can manage it to put it out, because sometimes they are resistant to more work. So we'll make it easy for them if they just put it all into a pool so that we can lift up more community journalism votes.
Well, that's fantastic. We wish you great success and continue the journalistic integrity and this incredible run of success and making such an impact in the lives of others. And again, on the cusp of the 50th anniversary, but also with all of these major and crucial things that are happening in all of our lives, gives us pause to really think and to really, make adjustments and pivot. And maybe, as I've said, with everything that's going on, I hope we rise out of the ashes of everything we're dealing with in 2020, this interesting year, better, more empathetic, kinder, love one another, more appreciative, listening to each other more, not being so divisive. And this paper that's been around 50 years with you now, at the helm of it, guiding it and bringing it into these new levels, can only continue to provide a wonderful resource for your readers. And a couple of people even suggested you would be a great mentor if you were to do, and maybe you do it, speaking engagements, and maybe go, when schools are open, go into schools and talk to young journalists and up and coming writers and journalists as well. Have you done some of that, Tracy?
Yeah, it's some of my favorite things to do. And it's interesting because before I got the job at the Reader, I had actually applied for a position at a university to teach. And it was, I was like super qualified for it, but I don't have any extra academic degrees. I don't have a PhD or master's. I have a master's in actually doing the work the last 36 years. So I didn't get that job, but the only thing that appealed to me was the teaching of the kids. I dreaded what all my friends in university settings tell me about bureaucracy and all the politics of academia, but I wanted so much to have that engagement. So because I had spoken probably to hundreds of classes of high school and college students over the years, even a couple middle school students classes, on a variety of things related to the issues I cover, not just LGBTQ, but I do a lot of work on youth homelessness. And so I really enjoy talking to the next generation, because I think they get a bad rap from different perspectives. I think they get a bad rap as being apathetic, which I think this is the most informed generation of people ever, not because they have the news at their fingertips. Sometimes they're misinformed, but they are reading the news. They're just reading it in different ways. They are interacting with the news in different ways. And they're really working networks and building movements that are far more sustainable than was able to do in a pre-internet age. So I'm excited by the next generation. A lot of the people we brought in at the Reader are younger generation, under 30-year-olds, in some cases under 25-year-olds, that are trained journalists that bring a totally different perspective than to me as a 57-year-old. So I really do enjoy interacting and speaking at classes. I've never taught like a course, and I don't know if I'd be good at that level of engagement, but I love going in and working with interns and doing other special projects.
Well, I tell you, it was really a pleasure having you on the show, Tracy, and sharing your story and your enthusiasm, your passion. We can understand why, they asked you to take over as publisher. This is something that's been a mission for you early on in your life, and it's something that is definitely in your DNA, and we wish you nothing but all the very best, continued success to you and to your staff, and we hope that more people will contribute and read and support, and we wish you nothing but the best. It was really a pleasure having you on the show. I hope you enjoyed your time with me as much as I did with you here on the show.
I did. Thanks. It was great to meet you, and lovity to all.
That's it. She's now in lovity, see? And there's that smile everybody loves. You can't hide it. You were born with it. Born with a journalistic passion and with the smile. Both are very disarming.
Thanks everybody for having me today.
You be well. You take care, you and your family and your staff. And thanks again for gracing us with this amount of time, Tracy. We really appreciate it. Phenomenal conversation. And you're welcome back anytime on the show.
Thank you.
All right. You take care. Bye-bye now. Bye-bye. Amazing, right? You always have inspiring conversations and interesting stories, and you learn something new on the show with our fascinating guests from all walks of life and genres and topics and backgrounds. I always learn something new. I know the viewers do as well, and we appreciate that. And Tracy, again, great success, a wonderful career, and making an impact in the communities in Chicago and beyond in many different ways. And she mentioned she also supports the homeless, and again, really understands the human condition and those who are sometimes the forgotten, those who are just, their voices aren't heard. We appreciate all of her time and appreciate her opening up her world and telling us about the reason why she loves what she does, something she started in her youth, and she's continuing to fulfill her passions as the publisher of the Chicago Reader. I just want to show you some more of those really cool covers and some of the just animation and so much more. Really cool, interesting conversations and covers. And of course, this was terrific when she was talking about that. Really gets you thinking. And I know a lot of you are foodies. The Chicago Cooks at Home. Chicago Cooks and Drinks at Home. So you got your libations in there and you got your food. We did a whole foodie episode like a week ago. I think it was during the host chat last Friday. And then on the Sunday pop-up show on YouTube, we talked about food again. This is current, the books issue as well. Masks up, absolutely. Cool stuff, right? The coloring book as well. Collecting some of the best poetry. This was really nice. I really love this because this is celebrating and honoring all the essential workers. Something that really isn't happening as much as it should. That's really a terrific cover. You got everybody in there. Everybody. It's the Chicago Reader again. And our very special guest, Tracy Bain. Absolutely amazing. Thanks to all of you as well for all of your great comments here. Thank you for sharing this passionate person, Jim. Great interview. What an amazing person and so open. Bye, Tracy. Bye. Great person. Good luck in all your endeavors, Tracy. Thank you for your story. Willie in Holland is still up, 2:30 a.m. No naps, still awake. You're a trooper, Willie. So inspiring as well. Hi, Jim. Hi, Tracy. Just joining tonight. Just got home from work. I'm a newbie here, but love the show. Jim's philosophy about relaxing and his calm demeanor make for a wonderful interviewer. Thank you very much. Rini says she's hoping that the Chicago Reader gets its nonprofit status. Best of everything. Christopher Joseph says, what an amazing interview with journalist Tracy Bain. Ralph just donated again. That's real passion, right? Sari says, great interview, Jim. Thank you very much. My pleasure. Jacqueline, very interesting interview. Pamela Perkle says we should all be that way. Tracy should speak at schools for young entrepreneurs as well. Some really, really wonderful things. And I'm going to scroll back a little bit because you guys were really posting a lot. Christine Clifton, fascinating and inspiring conversation with Tracy this evening. And Willie says, Tracy, I didn't know you, but I have a deep admiration for you. Crystal Nolan in Connecticut says, your incredible endurance sets an example for all of us, in reference to Tracy. Jennifer says, love and peace to everyone. Christine also says, thank you, Tracy, for your perseverance and your dedication. Pamela says, I'm listening while I jog. Your story is incredible, an example to us all on how to achieve when others tell you no. Very, very nice. Really incredible stuff. Great career. What wonderful and terrible stories about the reality of journalism, which is very, very true. Very interesting conversation. Great informative stories. Good comments there, smiles and thumbs up. Dwayne still watching in the Ozarks. Welcome, Dwayne, watching the Jim Masters Show live on YouTube, on our YouTube channel. Don't forget to subscribe to the YouTube channel. We would love that. Feel free. It would be fantastic. Great conversation with Tracy. And again, you guys, a lot of comments about her beautiful smile. She was turning red when she heard that. She's very humble. But again, you guys are always great viewers. You're always so positive. And thank you for your sharing your stories and standing up for what you believe in reference to Tracy's conversation. Great stuff. Great stuff. Renee in Iowa says, yes, very good interview. Thank you very much. So inspiring. Thank you for sharing. It's Marcia in Massachusetts. Hello, Marcia. Good to see you. Hope you're doing well. You were here the other night. We had... no, I think it was when we did the host night, when we just did a host chat. It was me and all of the viewers from around the world. And the night before was your friend, Damian McGinty, and my friend from Celtic Thunder and from Glee. Gang, I want to let you know that tomorrow night we have a brilliant and award-winning actress and singer. This is Lisa London. We're very excited that she's going to be gracing our presence. She's out on the West Coast. She's going to be here live. We have an amazing conversation. She's been in so many movies, so many shows, television, and everything you can think of. Lisa London is our guest. We're going to have a great time tomorrow night. I hope you're here 7 p.m. Eastern, 4 p.m. Pacific. Lisa London, I always get this confused. Wrong, right. I'm left-handed. There she is. So Lisa... place is falling apart here. Lisa is joining us on Tuesday. We're gonna have a great time. We actually have great guests all week long. Tomorrow night I will show you the rest of the guests here. Yeah, we have a couple more that actually I'll show you this one coming up later in the week. Scott Schwartz. Scott, if you remember, was in The Toy with Jackie Gleason and Richard Pryor. He played Jackie Gleason's wealthy son. And then on the left, you see him there. And that was when he was in A Christmas Story. And he was the kid that got his tongue stuck on the pole in A Christmas Story. Scott Schwartz, terrific actor. He's going to be with us towards the latter part of this week. I believe it's on Friday night. this Friday, this week. We want to thank our friends at LMG, Lampkin Music Group, for all of their wonderful love and support and everything they do. And big fans of our show. We really, really appreciate that very, very much. And of course, I'm still remembering my dear friend, Regis Philbin, who we lost last week, who was a dear friend and a wonderful, in terms of host. Nobody has a bad word for Regis. He just was one of the greats in our industry. Beloved, funny, friendly, absolutely amazing, and the real deal, authentic as they come. Hats off once again to Regis Philbin, who was actually buried at his alma mater at Notre Dame. That's where he wanted to rest. Again, folks, it's all about love. Celebrate one another. You guys take care. We're going to wrap up for tonight. It was a wonderful show. Again, we celebrate our very special guest. Isn't that a cool picture? She looks so happy there. And she's ready to make that pitch, too. She's on the mound, and she's ready to go. And it was a pleasure having her on the show, and always a pleasure to have you guys as well. You are left-handed as well, Christopher. Good night, everybody. Yes, send the prayers to everybody on the East Coast, your East Coast friends, with the tropical storm / hurricane Carolinas coming up the mid-Atlantic, coming up to the New York area and New England. We wish everybody well. Keep your fingers crossed. Our electric and our lights don't go out here. We are along the coast here between New York and Boston. So if we're not here tomorrow night, you'll know what happened. But we should be in good shape. 7 p.m. Eastern, 4 p.m. Pacific. As always, we toast you and you and you and you. We thank you very much for joining us on the show. We're going to have a great show tomorrow. And I really do hope you guys are doing well. I hope everybody's okay. I hope you guys are in good spirits. Everybody says good night. Thank you, Jim, for this show. My pleasure. Good night, everyone. Good night, everyone. Good night, everyone. And again, I raise a glass again and toast to my sister and brother-in-law for their wedding anniversary. 29 years together. Happy anniversary, Lori and Frank. Many more years of good health and wedded bliss. I was the best man in the wedding. And I gave one heck of a toast. Sure did. See you all tomorrow night, if we have power. Fingers crossed. We got everything's upgraded here, but you never know. The weather gods, they take control. Need dinner. Great interview. Oh boy, if you were with us on Friday, you were, I think, right? You were with us on Friday, the host chat, where the whole thing was all about food and music and hobbies, and somehow we even got on fire ants too and murder hornets. I don't know how that was. Good night, everyone. You take care. Be well. Folks on the East Coast, hang in there. Don't forget to relax. Take care. Love one another. We respect and appreciate every single one of you. Spread the word. Don't forget to like the YouTube channel if you can at Jim Masters TV. You can also find me on Instagram, Twitter, and Facebook at Jim Masters TV as well. Relax. Love one another. Be good to one another. Really fascinating and interesting conversation tonight, right? I learned a lot too, just like you guys did. Again, this is a place to come and converse and learn new things and celebrate life and living and levity. Bye to you, Renee, and bye to you, Willie, as well. Thanks for sticking up with us and staying up with us. You stay safe as well. Thank you very much, Marcia. Hang in there. You know, you're in Massachusetts, so hopefully things will be good for you as well. And as always, the star keeps getting further away from me. I might be the star of the show and the producer, but I think you guys are the stars. You and you and you and you and you and you. Take care, everybody. Again, everybody on the East Coast, hang in there. We're rooting for you, rooting for all of us too. Yes, you just saw the star, right? There it is. All right, gang, we're going to wrap up. Great show tomorrow. Actress and singer Lisa London. She's all excited. She's got a brilliant career. She's going to be absolutely amazing. Again, you can find me on Instagram, Twitter, YouTube, and Facebook at Jim Masters TV. We love you all. Thank you very much for all of your time and attention. Thanks for supporting the show in terms of just telling people, having watch parties, and spreading the word. It's always wonderful to have you here. We love conversing with you. We love entertaining you, informing you, and learning something new and having a laugh at the same time. That's what makes life worth living, right? When you have good people around, your loved ones, your friends, and you celebrate the small things, you cherish the small things in life. So breathe, relax, you take care, and it's a pleasure being in your company. And thanks for joining us here on the Jim Masters Show Live, where levity reigns, right? Good stuff. And there's your smile as we get ready to sign off here on the Jim Masters Show Live. All right, gang, we're going to bid you adieu, farewell, Auf Wiedersehen, ciao, cheers, catch you later. And we'll be here 7 p.m. Eastern tomorrow night, 4 p.m. Pacific, or for Willie in Holland, 1 a.m. Good night to you, Ralph. Thanks for being with us and watching and enjoying the show as well. We appreciate it. And we'll see all of you tomorrow night. Be well, everybody. You take care. I love you all. And it's always a pleasure to have you here every night. Take care every night. This is unbelievable. Good night. We'll see you again. Bye-bye.